Okay, in this video I will share 12 things that have helped me over the years when I wanted to find a girlfriend. So when I was younger, I felt like I was struggling to find a girlfriend. I went to look for advice online, applied it, learned a few things, managed to date quite some attractive women, and eventually I have a girlfriend now, which is what I wanted. So I'll share the things that I have learned, so maybe for somebody watching this, they could be valuable as well. Starting off with eye contact. So when I'm somewhere in an environment and I see somebody that I find quite attractive, I try to make eye contact with her. And sometimes she might notice me, sometimes not. All kinds of different scenarios can happen. Maybe she doesn't even see me at all. Maybe she looks at me briefly and start looking a few times back at me again, depending on the situation where I am. Obviously, when you're just crossing each other on the road, then there is only a brief moment where anything of this can happen. But when I'm in, for example, a gym and I'm spending quite a bit of time there and she does too, you can notice each other and you can have some more moments of eye contact. And so sometimes if you're a guy, I don't need to explain you, women give signs if they are interested in someone, right? So if she's interested in me, she would look at me a few times as well. And then it's kind of hard to put my finger on what exactly it is, but it's more like a feeling, like, oh, I think she might like me too, because she looked a few times, or the way she looks, or something about it. Point being, sometimes I got the feeling that she likes me, and sometimes she doesn't. Now, both of the scenarios, what I learned was important is that I am not going to depend my actions on her actions. In the way that if she looks at me, and she gives me signs that she might be interested, then yes, I would approach her and start a conversation with her. But I would also do that if she does not give me any signs. Because in both scenarios, I had very similar outcomes. What I mean with that is, I had scenarios where maybe I'm in an environment, I make eye contact with her, and I do get a sign that she might be open to a conversation with me. And then I walk over to her and maybe we have a conversation, maybe even exchange phone numbers. And then afterwards I would text her and she never replies to me. Even though my initial feeling was, oh, I think she might be interested. And then the opposite is sometimes true as well. Sometimes I will be looking at a girl that I find attractive, but she doesn't look back at me at all. She might not even notice me at all. And I still go for it, still strike up a conversation. And ABC, right? Always be closing. I always ask if I like her, obviously. If I didn't like her, I wouldn't start a conversation with her. I mean, obviously, sometimes you do. Sometimes you just have casual chats with people as well. But in the context of approaching somebody that I'm attracted to, I would always ask her number, even though in the conversation she might have felt pretty cold. Try to always apply the rule ABC, always be closing. You may want to hang out, you may want to go for drinks sometimes, exchange numbers. And it has happened in the past that I saw somebody, she did not notice my existence at all, had a brief interaction with her, exchanged phone numbers. She did not seem too interested to give her phone number. She still did, but you get a feeling of some interactions are like, oh wow, I had a beautiful connection, or there was definitely something there, or you have that feeling of, oh, I'm definitely gonna see her again. There was none of that. She literally just exchanged contact details and I thought she's probably never gonna text back. But then I would text her later and I end up being on a date with her. And so that was a very valuable lesson, that I should not be dependent on her response to me. Because in the end of the day, she's obviously a human being too. Maybe she's shy as well. Because it can be a bit overwhelming when a guy she's never met before all of a sudden comes and talks to her. Maybe she thinks by herself, oh, I'm looking bad today, or whatever goes on in her life, right? So she might look like she's not super excited or interested, but then afterwards maybe she thinks, oh, that was actually a sweet guy, or I enjoyed that he came and talked to me, and she actually does want to go on a date. So yeah, that was a good lesson. Do not be dependent on the signals. That was the lesson for me. So yeah, with this, signs can come in many different ways, right? So when she's looking at you multiple times, obviously. Also, I notice when I'm in a bar or a club, and all of a sudden she would be in my proximity for no reason. So she would come and stand pretty close to me, maybe even pretend like she actually accidentally bumps into me on the dance floor or whatever. These are typically signs that she could be interested. As they say, women are way more indirect, right? So as a guy, it's kind of expected that you walk up to her, you start a conversation. I'm not saying women can't do that, obviously, but women tend to be typically more subtle. If they like a guy, maybe she would make herself approachable, right? She would bring herself closer to him, maybe even ask ask him some unnecessary question, just some excuse to start a conversation with you. And so these signs, they are amazing. It's nice when that happens, right? Everybody likes to be liked. Everybody likes to, it's a compliment if somebody's interested in you. But in the end of the day, I did not want to be dependent on that, because I know a lot of the time when I see somebody I'm attracted to, she would not give me any of those signs at all. Especially when I was younger. When I was getting a little bit older, I tried to work a bit more on how I look, and I'm assuming maybe I started looking a bit better. But when I was younger, it happened even less. And yeah, I would not want to be dependent on that, because imagine if I'm going through my life, my whole life, waiting for somebody to give me the sign that they like me. Again, it can work out for some people, right? I was just very proactive about this problem in my life. I thought, I'm not happy with my dating life, I want to fix it, and I was going for it. Some guys have a completely other approach. They're just like, I'll just be patient and things will still work out. And for many people it does. So a lot of couples meet each other at work or through friends, and you don't have to take the same approach as me. I'm just saying what I did, what worked for me. So that brings me to the next point, which is again the length of the interaction really doesn't matter. I had some interactions where I remember I was at the reception of a place that I was staying with some friends, and we were literally waiting for a tour bus to come and get us. We booked some day trip for that day. And as we were waiting there was these three girls sitting there. So we just started chatting with them, and it was literally a conversation of like 1 or 2 minutes. Oh, hey, where are you from? Did you just arrive? What are you up to today? Maybe drinks later, exchange contact details, and boom, went for drinks that night. So it was a very short interaction. Again, she didn't give me too much signs, didn't look like they were overly interested. Had a great time, went on a date, and it was very unexpected. And the opposite again is true as well. I had some moments where I saw somebody and she would be very warm to me. I would walk up to her, the conversation felt so smooth and natural, and we exchanged numbers, and then she does not respond to my texts. That happens as well. And when that happens a few times, in the beginning the feeling, it really sucked, because I was like, oh come on, I had such a nice connection with her and I was really into her, and that was also part because I was new to this. I wasn't used to this, because over the years, because I started approaching more and more women, I started relaxing more, because I was like, look, if I just keep living this life, keep working on myself, and always approach the women that I'm interested in, eventually things will work out. And so it took the pressure of me. I started becoming less desperate, less needy. When I saw a woman and I was into her, I would start a conversation, but I would already know in the back of my head, the chances that this doesn't go anywhere are really high, and that's fine. Okay, because I know tomorrow is a new day, I'm still young, I got plenty of time. Compared to in the past, if I wasn't used to having frequent interactions with women that I was attracted to, and I had this one interaction and I felt like it was going right, I was so disappointed, because it was a scarce experience. It didn't happen too much, and so I became super invested in her. So with that came that I became super dependent on the outcome, and that's just overall an energy that typically works against you in life. It's kind of these paradoxes, right? When you have everything you need, often things come even more to you, and when you're in a desperate and scarce mindset, it gets even harder to get these things. So yeah, that was great advice that I learned over the years, to just not be dependent to the outcome at all. If I see somebody that I'm interested in, my task is to go and speak with her, to overcome that fear, to make an approach, to go and talk to her, to make myself vulnerable, to make it possible to be rejected, and that's it. To the rest I need to surrender. If she doesn't like me, that's fine, okay? And in fact, I think my success rate in general, with success rate I mean the amount of women that actually wanted to go on dates with me, was very low compared to some of my other friends. One particular friend was, I would say, was naturally good with women, so to speak, right? A lot of the time, if you approach somebody, they would be very warm to him, they would be open to go on dates with him, and that wasn't necessarily so much the case with me, or not as much as him. But again, over the years I learned that doesn't matter, right? I was not going to, because it's an opportunity for the mind when that happens, to really look at myself and think, what does he have that I don't have? Why do women respond warm to him and not to me? And you could, like, I could easily dig into that and pity into that and feel bad about that and maybe think that I'm not good enough. It's this, the mind is very good at that, right? In situations where things don't really work out for you, to like beat yourself down and to be, I'm not as good as him, maybe I'm not as good looking at him, and maybe I'm not as tall. Whatever it is, the brain will always find a reason, when in reality it really doesn't matter. Some people are meant to be matching with me and others are not. And of course, I still want to optimize the way I look, and I want to work on my life as much as possible, right? So to create a life for myself that I enjoy living, with the hobbies that I like, a way to make money that I enjoy, right? The happier I am in my life, the more attractive it would be for somebody to be in there. That's pretty logical. So these things, I think it's obviously worth it to work on them, but I think it's easy to get carried away and go too far and be like, I'm not good enough, I need to change lots of things about myself, I will never find a girlfriend, and so on. And often these beliefs, they could sit in the mind, in the background. So yeah, over the years I learned to just surrender to the fact that, look, a lot of women will not be into me when I approach them, and that's fine. That doesn't mean I need to stop doing that. I'm still gonna put myself out there, and eventually I'll find somebody. So what I'm basically trying to say is that, again, in the situation of my friend where his success rate, so to speak, is high, and I say it in that way because I don't think hooking up with as much as women as possible should be a measure of success. You can easily get carried away with that. Again, from the beginning, when you're young, of course, it's fun, right? And a lot of guys enjoy to hook up with a lot of girls. But for me, the goal was always to find a meaningful partner, because I know it's gonna be a net positive in my life eventually to build a family, and it was very important for me to not be attached to that outcome. If he was liked by a lot of women, and a lot of the time when he approached somebody, they wanted to go on dates with him, that's good for him. If that happened over time for me, great as well. But who cares? I'm not going to be dependent on it. At the end of the day, if I have the right attitude, which is I'm going to work on myself and always shoot my shot at the women that I'm interested in, which is something that you do out of self-love anyway. If your self-love is high, you go for what you want, right? And so that's just what I focused on. And yeah, when I was younger, that was harder, especially again when I didn't have as much positive experiences, in the sense that I didn't have that much dates with women yet. If I had that moment where a girl liked me and she wouldn't show up on a date, that would really disappoint me. But again, over the years, when I had more experiences, I started learning that I guess that's something that I could only learn by experiencing it. By sitting here, if I could talk with my 20-year-old self and say, hey, you should relax, things will be okay, that advice would have probably not been helpful for 20-year-old me. It's something, again, that with the experience over the years, that wisdom kind of comes, I guess. Next, which also continues on the last point, is that approaching is the success. Again, it comes down to not being attached to the outcome. When I see somebody that I'm attracted to, I manage to get the courage to go and talk to her, no matter how awkward the situation, because it can be many different situations. If you're, for example, you woke up in the morning, go for a walk, right? And you see a woman that you find attractive, but she's just walking, she's on the way to work. It's totally not an environment that she's used to being approached, right? Compared to maybe in the evening in a bar or something, right? It can be very awkward to do that. So that always brings me to the first point. It was very important for me to get over that fear and to really make it a habit, no matter how awkward it is. And one thing that was very motivating is that if I can get the courage to always approach the women that I find attractive, I say always, look, it's okay sometimes as well if I didn't do it. Of course, there's been scenarios when I saw somebody and I was like, oh, should have approached her, but then I didn't do it. Who cares, right? No point beating myself up for it. But I try to as much as possible. The nice thing about it is, if I do the really difficult approaches, it was very easy for me to do the easy ones. And I'll explain a bit more what I mean. Let's say I just woke up, maybe I feel a bit tired, I don't feel like I look that great, I look a bit sleepy. Two friends, two girls at the train station waiting to catch the same train as me, and they're talking to each other. The barrier for me to walk up to them and start a conversation could be pretty high, because it's morning, they're not really used to it, I don't feel as great. It's going to be quite challenging to do that. Compared to, maybe let's say, I'm sitting on the park bench in the sun on an afternoon, and she sits on the other side of the park as well, and you notice each other, and she kind of looks over a few times to you, and she's by herself as well. That's going to make it significantly easier to walk over to her and speak with her, right? So the challenge in those are different. The lesson that I learned was, if I manage to do the difficult approach, so in that morning when I don't feel as good and the situation is a bit awkward, if I manage to face the rejection there, then I will be definitely able to do it in the easy scenarios. It's kind of like going to the gym. If I always train with heavy weights, the day that I need to pick up a light weight, it's going to be very easy. And it's that same mindset. It's do every approach, especially the hard ones, and prepare to be rejected, that's fine. Just so when those moments arrive, when I'm in the right environment and there is somebody that clearly gives me the signs that she likes me, it's gonna be so easy to just walk up to her and start a conversation. And honestly, that makes it all worth it. But again, that's something like a muscle that I could only train by doing it over the years. That's just gonna come. I mean, for me, that just came from the experience. And the reality is it will never fully go away. So I did get better at it. I was sometimes less shy or less scared to approach a woman that I liked. But there's always a little bit of nervousness. And somebody that I used to learn from when I was younger, when I looked online for dating advice, he used to say that it should always be there a little bit, that nervousness, right? Because if there is none of it left, well, there is also no excitement. And are you even really excited to meet her? Probably not if you're not a little bit nervous. So, all right, next point. So I always say that for me, what really worked was the commitment to consistently meet new women. I knew that was essential. That would be the only thing that I changed in my life and radically changed my dating life. It was just committing to going out and meeting women, because staying at home, nothing was gonna happen. Maybe from dating apps, but well, I knew if I combine being on dating apps and going out and meeting women, that's gonna be the most efficient. So that meant that I would go every week to a shopping mall, or usually I did one daytime kind of moment where I would go out to meet women and one nighttime moment. One a week, right? So, for example, on Friday afternoon, I would go to my local shopping mall because I know quite a few attractive women would hang out there. And my goal was to start 10 conversations, right? If I get rejected 10 times, that's fine. My mission would be accomplished. But I know if I would commit to that, doing that every week, then it would be a matter of time before I would find somebody who I have a nice connection with and I would find a girlfriend, right? And then I also committed to going once at night every week. And that meant on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whenever there is a nighttime event, I would go to bars and clubs, and same rule, approach 10 women. If those 10 conversations go nowhere, happy days, I go home, mission accomplished. Same like going to the gym, right? It was that mindset. If I go to the gym today, I'll lift some weights. I don't expect to see results tomorrow, right? It's kind of normal. Nobody goes to the gym and expects results tomorrow because we know how it works. So when I had that same expectations in my dating life, that it was very helpful. If I just said, hey, I go out, I have 10 conversations and I don't expect anything from it, that was very good because it took the pressure away from me, and whatever happened that night was nice. It was just an addition. If I had a nice chat, great. If I met somebody, exchanged phone numbers, great. If I go home with somebody, awesome. If nothing happened, also great, right? Because in the end of the day, I never knew when I was going to meet the mother of my kids. So one problem that came with that, I mean, a problem, it's not really a problem, but it could happen that when I was in a mall or a bar or a club or something like that, many different women. And what will happen sometimes is when I start a conversation is that they would acknowledge it, like, oh, I noticed you talk to everybody here, or when I say, maybe I gave her a compliment and then she's like, oh, I'm sure you said that to everyone here, or something like that. Or yeah, sometimes it can kind of put you on the spot. And she was like, again, putting me on the spot and saying, oh, why do you speak with everyone here? And I noticed that, look, in the end of the day, it's true and it might not look as great, but in reality, there was plenty of women that I was attracted to, and so I find it logical that I started conversations with many different ones, especially if they weren't going anywhere. If she's clearly not interested in me, I'll just leave her alone. And then how I dealt with it over time was kind of just brushing it off or laughing it off. If she said something like, oh, I'm sure you said that to all the other ones, then I would say, no, but for you it's true, the other ones was a lie. You know? And maybe typically she would laugh with that, just because I'm owning it and I'm obviously making a joke. Or if she would say like, do you always just, maybe during the day, I would approach somebody in the mall and she'd be like, do you always just approach girls at the mall? And then I would be like, only if they're cute. Something like that, just fully owning it. And typically, look, if she likes me enough, she'll be fine with it. And if she's not fine with it, well, who cares? Again, there is a lot of women are not meant to match with me, and that's fine. Then next, daytime approaching is one of my favorite things to do because, I mean, if my girlfriend watches this, she might be upset. So I'm obviously not doing anything of this anymore because I have a lovely partner now. But yeah, so at the time, daytime was the most effective thing that I could do to find a girlfriend, for the reason that there is barely any competition. If I was going out at night, then a lot of guys, when they drink, they have a bit more courage and they would start a conversation. So it was a bit easier for them and they would actually just start a conversation with them after they had a drink. But during the day, no one approaches them. The amount of times that I spoke with a woman during the day, approached her, had a chat, said, what are you doing later? You want to hang out? the amount of times that they said, wow, this never happened to me, or even texted me afterwards like, oh, it's so cool that you did that, or it's really brave of you that you approached me, it's awesome. And I honestly look at it like free credit, because in the end of the day, it's not that challenging. There is people that did way more impressive things than just approaching another human being and having a conversation. But for some reason, women respect it in a way that, oh, he came up to me, and they know that you need to have courage to do it. And as guys, we know it as well. It can be very nerve-wracking to walk up to somebody you're attracted to. But it's kind of part of our survival brain. Some guys think that it comes from back in the day in nature, when it was actually more dangerous to do so, when there was less law and order, and if you would approach somebody's partner within a tribe or whatever, you could get literally murdered for that. And maybe our brain is still used to that, and therefore it's still worried to do that. But in modern civilization, nothing's gonna happen, right? Sometimes in bars and clubs, you obviously occasionally gonna meet a jealous boyfriend or another guy that was also hitting at her and is now getting jealous that you're talking with her. I had plenty of scenarios where guys were trying to pick fights with me and so on. And usually it's just best to de-escalate the situation. Every situation is obviously different, because sometimes the guy could be very jealous. But when I then ask her if she knows him or whatever, she's clearly not into him or something. In that case, I just say, do you want to go to another bar just to avoid the issues here, whatever. Sometimes women can also like this drama. In that case, I just leave her and everything there anyway. Sometimes you can just ignore the guy. There is too many different situations to cover, but typically I just try to avoid the situation. There is nothing that I can win from getting in a fight with a stranger somewhere. Yeah. Anyway, point being, our brain makes us sometimes nervous to approach somebody, which is completely unnecessary in like 99% of the scenarios. So just building that habit of doing it anyway was very helpful for me, and that fear will go away. And then it's literally free credit. Whenever she said, oh, it's so courageous of you that you came approach me, then I think to myself, no, it was not, but I'll take the credit anyway. So yeah, approaching during the daytime, highly recommend. If you go to museums, libraries, mall, or maybe in the library if a woman is actually studying, obviously sometimes it's best not to approach. But yeah, there's a lot of situations where women are open to meet somebody, and as they say, nobody says no to a good relationship, right? So if you're not her type and she doesn't like you, yeah, she does not want to talk to you. But chances are she does. And so it's for me, it was always worth to go and find out which one. And so that brings me to the next point, which is that the times that I approached somebody and then she became my girlfriend for a while, a lot of the time I created a very, and I even think that's with my current girlfriend a little bit the case. The way she met me is that I approached her, and that was my first impression. Now, they call it first impression for a reason, because it's an impression, like an imprint. It sticks with you. First impression of a person, unless if you spend significantly more time with them afterwards, so that view can change, that first impression is gonna give you a big assumption of who they are. I think I once read something about a study that based on what we know about somebody is also how we think that they completely are. I think that was explained not as clearly, but basically with the little information we have from somebody, we think that we know everything about them, which is obviously not the case. So that little bit of information they get from you in the beginning is significantly gonna impact the way they perceive you. Now, if I think back logically about the situations how I met some of these women in the past, and my current girlfriend as well, is that, well, when we met, he approached, and so what they think is, well, this guy is a player. He must be approaching women all the time, everywhere. And it's kind of a battle for them, because on the one hand, they do like it, because generally what I've learned is that women like men who go for what they want. Apparently it's a characteristic in men that also causes them to be more successful. If you're a go-getter, you chase what you want, right? The pursuit. So it's attractive in that sense, I believe, for them. But on the other hand, it also makes them worried. Well, if this guy gonna keep doing this, is he gonna cheat on me? You know, is he gonna be able to commit to me? So it brings a lot of worries for them, and that's the one thing that I really did not like, because there were scenarios where if I find somebody and I'm happy with her, then I'm obviously not gonna go out and meet more women, right? But a lot of the time they were convinced I would, and it would be really hard to win that trust. So yeah, I would say that's probably a downside, but it's not worth not doing it because the upside is so big. It is definitely, I found it worth it to go out there and meet all the women that I did, because I wanted to be proactive in finding a partner, and I'm very grateful I did that to this day. Okay, next step. So the vision for me was very important. When I was younger, I had the vision that I do want to have a girlfriend that I feel very attracted to. Because again, at that age, I really wanted to have a girlfriend, and I wasn't convinced that I was going to succeed in doing so. Because at that time, I didn't have any options. And every time when I was around a girl, I was very shy and awkward, or sometimes one of my friends who were actually a little bit more popular with the girls at that age, let's say. We would go and hang out with some girls. I was always very shy and awkward, and I didn't really know how to make my move on somebody when I was interested and so on. And so again, when I had to break up with my first girlfriend, that hit me really hard, because I was like, damn, how long is it gonna take me to find a new girlfriend? I really thought, Jesus, I'm never gonna find a new girlfriend again. And if I look back on it now, it's obviously ridiculous, but at that time, it's really how I felt. And so, yeah, that vision was very important. Again, the same is with going to the gym, right? When you go to the gym, it's because, well, many different reasons. Some people just go to be fit as well, but a lot of people who go to the gym to work on their body goals, they have this vision of themselves of how they want to look after they've been hitting the gym for months and so on. And that was for me very important. I knew if I would be willing to face the rejection and being rejected when approaching somebody and so on, then if I do that consistently, if I meet enough new women consistently, eventually I would get what I want, which is a partner that I'm attracted to. So yeah, that vision was very important, because if I didn't have that long-term vision, then I wouldn't be able to go through pain of the rejection, so to speak, right? I would be walking down the street, see a woman that I find attractive, or again, anywhere in my life, in a bar, a club, or at the reception of a place where I would be staying, or anywhere in my life where I meet them. When I saw somebody, I knew it's necessary for me to face that fear and go and talk. Even though I don't feel like doing it now, I feel shy, I feel nervous, it's gonna be awkward, she's gonna reject me. Doesn't matter. I knew if I just commit to doing that, to facing that, eventually I will find somebody awesome. And so that was one of the two visions. The other vision was like the anti-vision. So that was one of the visions. Now the other vision, so the one vision was the vision of success, so to speak, of achieving my goal of finding a partner that I would love to be with. And the other one was the anti-vision, was kind of like the thing that I didn't want to have. So I know a guy, and I'm not going to mention his name, obviously. He probably doesn't even know that I think that. It's not really a friend, but anyway, I know that he is in a relationship where he really shouldn't be in. And things like that were very motivating to me, because chances are that he is with this person because he believes that he can't get anyone better. And this person really treats him poorly. Again, I'm not going to go into any details, but it's just not a good person. And I think part of him stays with her because, again, he's worried that he's not going to find anyone else. And that belief, that thought, is what pushed me a lot as well when I was younger. I was like, if I am not going to be willing to go through the rejection and go actively find somebody, I might actually end up with somebody that I don't even like. I might not even have the self-respect to leave them because I don't believe that I'm going to find someone else. And in the end of the day, we want love, right? It's a normal core human need. And so I knew it was essential for me to work on myself, to get a little bit more options. So with that comes a little bit more self-respect, and then I know when to walk away. And so that was, again, a very, very motivating thought. And so this, again, came with working on it. Over the years, just the more experiences I had, the more I worked on myself as a human being, in the sense of my working on my finance and my looks and my health. The more dates I had, my self-belief, my self-worth would grow, and I would start to believe more and more, oh, actually, maybe I am not that unattractive as I thought. Because, funny enough, I truly thought so. When I was younger, I don't know where it came from, but I really felt a bit unworthy of attractive women. And over the years, constantly facing that rejection and going on dates, I had many situations where I was on a date, was like, well, I can't believe she actually wanted to go on a date with me, because I genuinely thought she was like out of my league. She was too attractive for me. And that more and more goes away over the years. That really went away and turns into more of a belief, well, I probably am worthy of somebody attractive, probably am worthy of a good relationship. And again, as silly as it sounds, those beliefs were subtly sitting in the back of my life, and I didn't always think about them, I'm not always aware of them, but they are there, and they were, if I wanted it or not, it was probably influencing my life a lot. And so that brings me to the next point, which is, again, those beliefs. That was really significant. And that brings me to the next point, actually, which might be the most important part and the biggest benefit that I've gotten from over the years dating many women, at least trying to, approaching a lot of women, and just trying to find a partner. The biggest benefit I've gotten from that journey was erasing those beliefs that I'm not good enough. I remember I once went out like I did. I stuck to my promises, go out once a week. And that night I went out all by myself because none of my friends wanted to come. It was like a Thursday or something. And I wanted to achieve my goal of starting 10 conversations with women in nighttime. And I remember I was on the way there. I was listening to a podcast as well to motivate myself, which was on the topic of dating and so on as well. And I went out to a club in my city all by myself. And then I met this absolutely stunning person. And I went home with her that night. And the next morning I remember waking up next to her. And that was really a moment where one of these beliefs I felt like changed, because I looked at her and I was like, wow, I can't believe I just managed to attract her. And again, that might look ridiculous now, but at that time that really revealed my beliefs, my self-worth, that I didn't think I was worthy of that. And there are two really amazing books that also had a really significant impact on me in this topic, which is Addicted to Love from Jan Geurts. It's a Dutch book originally. It's called Verslaafd aan Liefde van Jan Geurts. So in English that would be Addicted to Love. And the second one is The Four Agreements from Miguel Rios, I think it is. They're two books with different kind of topics, but in essentially a lot of it is an overlap and they say the same thing. The beliefs that I held that were really not serving me. And those books go in depth on that, on how you can change them. A big factor of that is meditation, which I've done a lot of in my life as well, which was very helpful for me. Meditation was definitely something that helped me a lot in my dating life as well, to be more present, to be more calm, to develop more self-love and so on. I know it all sounds very woo-woo, especially for some people that don't have any experience with it, but hey, don't judge something before you tried it. Except for gay sex, of course. I'm not gonna try that one. Anyway. I mean, maybe. You never know. Maybe that's how it started. Anyway, jokes aside. So those two books were really a big one in shattering my beliefs. And then on top of that, of course, the experiences. Going out and meeting women was a big one to shift that. Because no matter what my brain believes, if my brain was like, oh, I'm not worthy of attractive women, if I'm sitting on a date and I'm sitting there with her and she's clearly enjoying it, no matter what my brain believes, this is clear evidence. Right? And the more evidence my brain gets is going to be like, well, maybe I am worthy of love, because look, she's clearly having a good time. So yeah, that was very helpful as well. But that was a big one, and it's so fulfilling to change those beliefs. And I think maybe it can happen very quickly with some kind of, I don't know, maybe some people try hypnosis or meditations, or I even heard people talk about psychedelics can be very powerful for that. But for me, it was more a gradual process of just like a lot of exposure, many years that go by, a combination of the meditation, of the books, of the exposure of dating with attractive women, and that belief started to change more and more. And that was great. That sticks again to that point of the vision, right? So my vision was that I wanted to become somebody who has options, who doesn't need to feel desperate, who doesn't need to be in a relationship with somebody they don't want to be with. And to become that person, I had to go through that process of shredding those beliefs that were not serving me, that were not making me that person. Then the next point, something else I wanted to talk about, was there was a period in my life where, again, I was committing to meeting lots of new women consistently every week, during the day, during the night. And from that come a lot of phone numbers and then a lot of dates. So I was trying to set up 2 or 3 dates a week. And there was a period in my life where I was having lots of dates and none of them were going anywhere. And it was such a bizarre period, because it was like they were interested in me at the start when we first met, but then after the first and the second date, they would just stop responding to me. And I was very unaware of what exactly that was. Yeah, I was very unaware of what was causing this. And I remember that was a moment that I was really digging into myself, like, is there something about me unattractive that I'm not aware of, that I'm repelling her with? And looking back on that now, I'm glad that I didn't spend too much time obsessing over it, because after that period also changed, and obviously I'm with my girlfriend now. So there was nothing to be overly obsessed about, but that was just, again, another really good lesson to just accept the process for what it is. And things like this will happen. And the most important thing was that I just had to keep going. Yes, there was going to be moments where I was going to get rejected a lot. There was going to be moments where I had a lot of days that didn't go anywhere. Maybe women didn't even want to exchange contact details with me when I first approached, things like that, right? In the end of the day, not obsessing over it was the most important thing. Just accepting, just like going to the gym again, some days are going to be good, some days are going to be bad, but in the end of the day, if I keep going, I will get to that goal. And that brings me to the next point, which is when you start, or at least me, when I started going out a lot, again, approaching a lot of women, all in combination being on the dating apps, I started getting a lot of girls' contact details. And then, of course, when I had the contact details, I want to set up a date to see them. And there also, at the time when I was looking for advice online, was a lot of advice with what to say, how long to wait to reply to a girl, when to text, what to text, and so on. And a lot of it, again, was just like over-engineering, it was over-analyzing and just unhelpful advice. Some of it was helpful advice as well, but a lot of it was not as well. And so basically, looking back on it, if I could go back to my younger self and give advice, it would be very simple. After I have her contact details, don't try and do anything fancy with the texting. I wouldn't be trying to create attraction over text or anything like that. I would just keep it very simple, like, hey Sarah, or hey Jessica, whatever, most stereotypical names. Anyway, so yeah, hey, it was really nice to meet you. How's the rest of your day going, whatever? Yeah, great. Do you maybe want to catch up on the weekend? And if she wouldn't be making time to see me, then she probably wasn't too excited to see me. And a lot of guys are going to argue with me like, oh, that's not a good way of texting and blah, blah, blah. But in the end of the day, again, I was just happy to play a numbers game, so to speak, right? To go out there, meet lots of women, and the women that like me will actually come out with me. And if they don't like me, I'm just going to let it go, right? I'm not going to pursue them. I'm not going to keep texting them. I'm not going to keep calling them. None of that. I simply text them once. Do you want to hang out? Maybe I'll do it one more. For example, I meet somebody today, and then later that day I text, hey, it was nice to meet you. How's the rest of your day been? And then maybe want to catch up on Friday, Saturday, whenever. Or usually I just say, do you want to catch up? If she says, yeah, sounds good, then I'll say, when are you free? Instead of saying a specific date, right? Because then it can go, you want to meet up Saturday? No, I'm busy. What about Sunday? No, I'm busy. If she says that already, it's not a good sign. If she likes me, she would say, no, I'm busy Saturday, but how about Friday? Something like that, right? She would put in an effort. But yeah, typically if I would say, hey, I want to hang out sometimes, and she would say something like, oh, I'm busy, or just be flaky, or not really committing to a time to hang out, I would just wait for a week, and then I text one more time with something that I would call a value text, which is just sending something funny, or like a meme or something. Yeah, just something randomly. I can't really think of anything from just like that, but something that just does not really ask for a response. You can send a meme. I remember a good one, but that's more if she doesn't respond. For example, if I send a text and she didn't respond to it, then I would wait a week, and then I would send a meme of a skeleton, just like a skeleton sitting on a bench with the text, me waiting for your response, right? Because I'm already dead, because that's how long it takes. And that can trigger like some positive results. So she can be like, oh, haha, sorry, forgot about it. And sometimes that still leads to a date. But typically, once again, if she does like me enough, she will make time to meet me. And if she did not make time to meet me, she probably doesn't like me enough. And that's fine. And I'll just move on. But definitely to go and text and be like, oh, why are you not responding? Or, oh, I thought we had a nice connection. I thought you wanted to go on a date with me. Things like that usually don't go well anyway. So I completely refrained from that. Yeah, usually it was just pretty simple. After I have her contact details, ask her out. If she doesn't respond, I would send a skeleton meme. And if she's being flaky, I would call her out on that. Hey, listen, I like you. I really want to see you, but it doesn't look like you're putting in much time. So I'm going to stop trying. That could also be very effective, actually. Sometimes then she'll be like, oh no, I'm sorry, it's just been busy. I would love to see you. When are you free? That can happen, but most of the time, again, she would just not put much effort in, and again, I just let it go. So, if I could boil this lesson down in something simple and give it to my younger self once again, it would be simply, do not invest time in people that don't invest time in you. It's just a simple lesson for life. In general, right? Not only with my dating life, but just in general. Don't invest time in people that don't do it in you. Just people with the common sense of self-worth wouldn't be doing that. Then next is some advice when I was younger and I was online looking for dating advice because I wanted to find a girlfriend. Some of the advice was, work on yourself and women will follow automatically. It's this common phrase that on first sight, it sounds good, it's very sellable. When you hear that, most people are going to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But actually, I don't like that advice. For many reasons. First of all, it's not practical at all. It is practical to work on yourself. It's obvious, right? To work on your health and work on your career or your job or whatever you do to make money, and work on your hobbies and spend time with just create a good life for yourself, right? So that makes sense. But what I don't like is then the part, and women will come automatically. Why would you do that? For me, that doesn't make sense, because I would rather, when I see somebody again that I'm interested in, risk and shoot my shot and risk being rejected and start a conversation with her. Because imagine this, imagine if I work on myself, right? And let's say that they refer to becoming successful, right? Let's say you want to become an owner of a successful accounting firm, something just on the top of my head, right? So let's say you spend your 20s being an accountant, working for a company, learning the ropes, and then your late 20s, maybe you start, you set up your first company, you work for yourself a bit, you get your first employees, you grow the company, and now you're 35, reaching the age of 40, and now all of a sudden you got lots of money, you're successful, and now all of a sudden women's supposed to come automatically? Again, I'm aware that along this journey you will meet a lot of different people and some women will be interested in you, right? And again, the videos that I make are not for everyone. A lot of guys are going to be like, look, I'm not going to take action on this, I'm just going to be more passive about it, and I'll meet somebody as well, and that will work out fine for a lot of people, right? It was just not for me. I didn't want to be too passive about it. Again, for the reasons that I've covered before, I wanted to be proactive about this problem. I wanted to actually go out and grab the bull by the horns and be proactive about it. But see, I don't think when this person then ends up in the position where they made all this money, they got their successful accounting firm or any business or whatever they do, or maybe they climb the corporate ladder, they have a successful career, whatever. It's not like women all of a sudden gonna come and ring your doorbell and be like, oh hey, I want to be with you. Again, if you have enough social status, that will happen. Women will basically throw themselves at you. But why would I want to be dependent on that? And why would I even wait until I reach a certain destination or age? Therefore, I think it was bad advice that I didn't follow. I was like, do both. Yes, I want to work on myself and be the best version of myself I can be, work on my health and my finance and so on. But that doesn't mean that I cannot start meeting women today. It's not because I'm not my best version yet, so to speak. I mean, when do you even reach that? Is that even a real thing? I don't know. But it doesn't mean that I cannot start meeting somebody today. In fact, it's even more fulfilling if I meet somebody today and she joins me along this whole journey. Because I've heard many times that when you get to a stage where you have a serious amount of wealth, it's really hard to know who to trust, because what are the real reasons this woman is with you, right? So it's even better to meet somebody when you're broke. And then she grows with you. So therefore, I don't really like the advice of focus on yourself and women will come automatically. So if you want my personalized help, you can go to robinbogaerts.com. What I see myself as is not somebody who's gonna give you some canned dating advice or things to say or things to do. It's more like a personal trainer, right? So when you take a personal trainer, you go to the gym, you still have to do the work. The trainer is more there to, well, show you the exercises, but more so to keep you accountable and to make sure that you stick to your goals, right? It's the same for me. I can speak with you maybe about certain problems that you face, but I'm gonna refrain from this is what you need to say, this is how you need to behave, this is what you need to do, because I believe ultimately being yourself is the best so that you can authentically connect with somebody. But what is important is that you consistently meet new women. That's something that I truly think is important. And so if you have maybe problems with approaching somebody, there is something like baby steps, a method we can do to slowly build up to the point where you will be able to speak with a woman if you see her, overcoming that fear to do so. And if you consistently meet new women, things will work out fine. So I will just be there for support and accountability. We can do weekly check-ins. We can work out different ways to work around it. But yeah, I have an audio course that I can give you that you can listen to, which is kind of similar to my videos, which is going to give you some things that have worked for me. And then most of all, you can speak with me for any personalized questions you may have, or just for accountability to make sure that you hit that goal to every week meet enough women, and then eventually you will find somebody.